Did you know that hippos make excellent pets? How about a gorilla recognizing its owner after a long separation? Don't believe it's possible? Well, let me tell you these and other amazing stories of human-animal friendships. And at the end of the video, you'll learn about an incredibly dangerous pet that one brave person managed to befriend. Enjoy watching. Hachiko. I'll start with the most famous story, mentioned many times in the media and even turned into several films. You've probably guessed I'm talking about Hachiko. This story began in 1923 when a 3-month-old Akita Inu puppy was given to Professor Hidesaburo Ueno from Tokyo University. The furry friend would accompany his owner to Shibuya Station every day, waiting together for the train to arrive. Unfortunately, dogs weren't allowed at work, so the puppy would only see the professor off and then obediently walk home. But he would always return to the station to meet his owner. Amazingly, the dog was never late and never missed these eagerly awaited reunions. Unfortunately, one day the professor didn't return. He died of a heart attack at the university. Yet, the loyal puppy continued to come to the station every day for 9 years. Just imagine what this poor dog felt, losing his closest person. Hachiko himself passed away at the age of 12. Even during his lifetime, a statue was erected in his honor. Every time I read this story, it reminds me of the loyalty and love that can exist even in the toughest circumstances. The Little Hippo. Dogs have been friends of humans for a long time, and every story of friendship with these furry creatures is interesting and unique. But let me tell you about something more surprising. For example, a pet hippo. In 2000, during a flood in Limpopo, a small hippo was washed ashore near the home of the Joubert family. The baby hippo was only about 5 hours old and wouldn't have survived without human help. Ranger Tony Joubert and his wife Shirley, who had no children of their own, decided to take in the hippo and named her Jessica. They began to care for her in every way: feeding, grooming, petting, and playing. Gradually, Jessica became a full member of their family. Jessica is now 24 years old and weighs about 2 tons. Can you imagine that? This story might not seem very surprising since hippos are herbivores and considered safe for humans. However, this is a misconception. Hippos can injure or even kill. Yet, in all these years, Jessica has never shown aggression. On the contrary, she protects her parents. From what? Well, for instance, from crocodiles when the family goes into the water. Jessica also loves South African rooibos tea, and Shirley brews several buckets of this divine drink for her daily. The hippo enjoys sweet potatoes, socializing, and even watching TV. Unusual hobbies for a wild animal, wouldn't you agree? Jessica is the most famous hippo in the world. Over 100 documentaries have been made about her, and she remains one of South Africa's top attractions, beloved by tourists. Best Man. Many of you have probably heard various stereotypes about Russians, for example, about Russian pet bears. But have you heard anything like this about Americans? No? Let me tell you. In 2002, American Casey Anderson learned a secret from a Russian on how to tame grizzlies. I know this secret too, but I won't tell you or you'll steal all the bears for yourselves. So, Casey stole the secret knowledge and used it to take in a small grizzly cub named Brutus. Brutus didn't have a place in the reserve, and if not for the brave man, the cub would have faced an unpleasant fate. But fortunately, things turned out differently. This furry friend became a very affectionate and gentle pet, almost immediately becoming a full-fledged family member. When the cub grew up in 2008, Casey decided to marry actress Missy Pyle and chose his furry buddy Brutus as the best man. Brutus did a great job and even advanced his career. He decided to become an actor. Now the bear has his own TV show, supported by National Geographic. Through this program, Casey and Brutus dispel stereotypes about grizzlies, showing that they are true gentle giants, not bloodthirsty predators. And if you think Brutus should be released into the wild, you are mistaken. After living in human love and care for so long, Brutus simply wouldn't survive in the harsh world of the wild. Besides, he is quite happy at home. Bison Best Man. But it's not just bears that make great best men. There are also bison. Yes, those big horned creatures. An American couple, Ronnie and Sharon, raised a herd of over 50 bison. However, over time, they could no longer care for the animals and had to sell them all except one, a little calf named Wild Thing. Wild Thing became a true family member. He freely roamed the house, watched TV, accompanied the family on picnics, and even had breakfast with everyone at the same table. It's incredible how such a large and originally wild animal became a gentle and friendly pet. The Bridges believe that the love and care they showered on Wild Thing made him so obedient and peaceful. I completely agree with them, and by the end of this video you will too. Messi and Gerda. Everyone loves cats, right? Then let me tell you about some very special ones. In 2017, Alexander and Maria Dmitriev saw a tiny puma named Messi at a Russian zoo. The poor creature had serious health problems and was severely underweight. What were the zoo staff even doing? Who knows what would have happened to this little one if the Dmitrievs hadn't decided to take her in. Now, Messi is doing well because Alexander and Maria are doing everything to make sure she's comfortable. They monitor her health, feed her, exercise with her, and train her. They even sold their apartment and moved to a huge country house for their beloved pet. And Messi behaves just like a regular cat. She sleeps with her owners, plays, and misses them terribly when they go out. It's a wonderful story, isn't it? But that's not all. Recently, the Dmitrievs decided to get a friend for Messi, a cheetah named Gerda. He stays in a large enclosure, but he's often allowed to roam around the yard and even enter the house. So now, Messi is never lonely because Gerda is always around. Big Leo. Pet cheetahs and pumas are fascinating, but what about truly big cats? In 1970, Englishmen John Rindall and Anthony Bourke bought a lion cub they named Christian. The cub lived in the basement of a furniture store and wanted for nothing. He was well fed, groomed, and of course, petted. But over time, Christian grew from a little cub into a majestic big cat. The owners, after consulting with naturalist George Adamson, decided to release him into the wild in Kenya's Kora National Reserve. There, Christian joined a pride led by a lion named Boy. After the leader's death, Christian became the king of the pride himself. Several years later, John and Anthony traveled to Kenya to see their beloved pet again. There was a chance that Christian wouldn't recognize them, and at first, it seemed like he didn't. The lion was cautious when he saw the two men. However, he soon joyfully ran towards his former owners, stood on his hind legs, and hugged them with his front paws. Now that's what I call friends for life. Friends from the jungle. Did you know that a monkey can be a person's best friend? No? Then let me tell you the story of Queeby, a gorilla that was brought to Damien Aspinall's zoo. Unfortunately, this little one lost her parents due to poachers and couldn't survive in the wild without help. The zoo didn't have enough space for her, so Damien decided to take her in. Over time, Damien and Queeby formed a strong bond and became great friends. But Damien, being an ecologist, knew that when Queeby turned 5, it was time for her to go to the jungles of Gabon. Such a tough farewell, isn't it? 5 years later, Damien decided to go to Gabon to find his old friend and see how she had adapted to the wild. At the spot where they last saw each other, Damien called out for Queeby. To everyone's surprise, Queeby came running out of the bushes and started hugging her old friend. This moment was even caught on camera and widely covered by the media. The Wolf Cub. You've probably heard the saying, if you're afraid of wolves, don't go into the forest. The next story will help you overcome this fear. Famous British zoologist Sean Ellis had been fascinated by wildlife since childhood, but reading books and observing from a distance was for the weak. Ellis became known for his unique approach to studying wolves. He decided to live among them. It's not as simple as you might think. Ellis didn't just live with the wolves, he spent a lot of time mimicking their behavior. He tried to become part of the pack, learning to move, howl, and even eat like a wolf. Sounds intriguing, but I couldn't eat like a wolf, though I wouldn't mind a playful nibble on the side. Over the years of research, Ellis established strong bonds with several packs. His studies were widely covered in the media, making him the subject of several documentaries. Ellis also wrote a few books about his life and work with wolves, sharing his discoveries and experiences. I've even read one. I think it's called Red Riding Hood, The Bear Buddy. Have you ever swum with your pets? Probably. But Mark Dumas is the only person in the world who has managed to swim with a polar bear. Sounds wild, doesn't it? Mark is a polar bear trainer with over 40 years of experience. One day, he was training a bear named AG for a commercial, but something went wrong, and AG began to see Mark as a mother figure. Their relationship continues to this day, even though AG is now a fully grown bear. Can you imagine? They sleep together, hug, eat, and even kiss. Mark isn't afraid to put his head into AG's giant mouth, and she freely plays with other pets. Mark claims he can sense Aggie and knows how to interact with her safely. He acknowledges her as the boss and follows her rules. AG has a safe place to call home, but her guest list is limited to Mark and his wife Dawn, as a random person could become a tasty meal for AG. AG is the only polar bear working in the film industry. She has many years of experience and is highly professional. The bear has starred in movies worldwide and even appeared in a Metallica music video, Chimpanzee Mama. The next short story is bound to touch your heart. A chimpanzee named Mama was the matriarch of a large colony at Burgers Zoo. She had been the leader there for many years and formed a close bond with zoologist Jan van Hoof. They spent a lot of time together, and their friendship lasted over 40 years. However, Jan had to retire as he grew older. 10 more years passed. Jan turned 80, and Mama was nearing 70. Just a month before her 59th birthday, Mama became very weak. Even though John hadn't seen his old friend in a long time, he came to say goodbye when he learned about her critical condition. Someone filmed their farewell, and the video has since gathered over 100 million views. I couldn't resist watching it myself. In the video, Mama lies motionless on a straw bed, refusing food and water. Keepers try unsuccessfully to feed her with a spoon. The chimpanzee is apathetic and detached, on the brink of death. At one point, Jan appears and gently strokes her. Right before our eyes, Mama starts to revive, raising her head as if trying to recognize who's come to see her. Suddenly, a joyful cry is heard. "Yes, it's me," John says, softly patting his old friend. Words are unnecessary here. Jan whispers encouraging words, and Mama tenderly strokes his face and ruffles his hair. Then she pulls him close, and they remain in a silent embrace. Soon, Mama curls up again, and a few weeks later, she passes away. Poco the Crocodile. Now, here's something you've all probably been waiting for, the story of a real pet crocodile. In 1989, Gilbert Shedden found a small crocodile on the banks of the Reventazon River in Costa Rica. The animal was emaciated and on the brink of death after being shot by a farmer who was protecting his cow. Gilbert, with his deep compassion and love for animals, decided to take the baby croc home and nurse it back to health. Shedden spent a lot of time and effort treating the creature, using medications and feeding it fish and chickens. Eventually, the baby recovered, and Gilbert decided to name him Poco. He then released his new friend back into the river, although he was very reluctant to do so, knowing the animal needed to return to its natural habitat. However, their story didn't end there. Poco refused to return to the wild, and the next morning, Gilbert found him on his porch. Gilbert's neighbors even started calling him Cheeto, the crocodile shaman. So the brave man decided to keep Poco and dedicated countless hours to building a trusting relationship with him. Thanks to this, Gilbert and Poco became incredibly close. They swam together, played, and even performed in shows that Gilbert regularly held for tourists and locals. Poco lived a great life and died a natural death in 2011. His taxidermied body is now in the local town museum. Amazingly, in 20 years, Poco never once has had aggression towards Gilbert or any other person. But remember, almost all the people in this video are professionals in their field, and it's better not to approach wild animals just like that, as it can end very badly. By the way, leave a comment on who you like the most. Personally, I loved Messi the puma, for whom the owners built a huge house. And if you also want a luxurious villa with an ocean view, I know what to suggest. We are looking for scriptwriters, voiceover artists, video editors, and creative producers for our videos. Interested? Then go to our Telegram bot via the link in the description and apply. Thanks for watching.